Victims of domestic violence call on new laws to be enacted. The commissioning of Kokoda High School. And Hekari triumph over Lae City Dwellers in the Telecom National Soccer League.
This is National EMTV News with Miriba Tulo.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for Saturday's news. Victims of domestic violence want the government to enforce a no-bail law for perpetrators involved in violent crimes. In most cases, the perpetrators are the partners of the women who are able to meet the fine set by the courts. After their release, the men keep up the abuse while the women live in fear of reporting their partners again. The victims spoke out during a European Union-sponsored meeting with NGOs and the Diplomatic Corps on how to tackle domestic violence.
The victims believe one of the reasons for such a high number of abuse is because our laws are weak. The victims say they are not protected when the offenders repeat their crimes after paying a fine and being released.
Until me finish in the court, the private system go big plan. All put him all sell all back out and bien can all back man kill him all.
And cases of police being bribed and the abuser released are too common. A victim shared her story of her abusive partner's son from another marriage. The son raped her 3-year-old twin daughters, but was released because her partner bribed a police officer to release his son.
Time to blood 3 time I'm raping to like Lumina. Mix him some mangi and I put him lost shelter so man dog and bribing my police and Rasim Sapin in a way long come out.
Medicines Sans Frontiers last week released a report on gender-based violence. They found the number of repeated abuse in PNG and the number of children repeatedly abused is high.
Out of 10 adult women reported repeated abuse, and the number of children who are suffering from repeated abuse is even higher.
Stakeholders at this meeting have now called for the government to seriously look into a no-bail law and for police to discipline rogue officers. Adelaide Hekari National, EMTV News.
Parole and rehabilitation for prisoners are two areas which prisoners are demanding attention from the government, while prisoners on remand want courts to speed up their cases. These were key areas pointed out by prisoners at Baisu Prison in Western Highlands during the visit of Acting Correctional Services Commissioner Bernard Nepo.
Prisoners at Baisu had the opportunity to point out areas of concerns during the visit by the Acting Commissioner of the Correctional Services on Thursday. Areas which convicted prisoners want attention from the government are the parole system, leave of absence which is now under suspension, and rehabilitation programs.
Parole tasole me big bla worry stop because me one bla long time karabus me stop long ya. Ogara ol narbla karabus kam lo ya. Ogara ol kam bien lo me. Tubai me stop lo ya. Me been go long 2 bla time long. Elaway na me stop one them. Or line Mary beginning lo me na papa mama na me kam lo ya. Since 2012, elaway me stop. Why me no sabe?
A privilege but please me asking. Yela gola parole.
Prisoners on remand want the court systems to speed up on their cases because they say most times this group are the very ones who are involved in escapes due to this factor. Now
all the reasons belong why only escape long them. Me believe also you addressing police.
Acting Commissioner Bernard Nepo gave the assurance that he has already initiated dialogue with concerned authorities like the courts and police to address these concerns.
This law, me go through law minister who said me supporting me, na minister ba karim go long wanem, minister blongen na me bla ba senis this law na. Power ya me bla ba try long kiss him come back. Na ba stop long office long commissioner, na commissioner himself a problem long house calabus, so him can at least release him all man.
He also said the government has already made a commitment to resurrect prison rehabilitation programs. Plans are already in place for prison industry initiative. He said under this vision, prisoners will be trained on different life skills as well as contributing to sustaining agricultural projects for prisons like Baisu.
So big blood in me. Instead long you blow is a land where you blow log na stop inside. Me blow must like him. You blow come up good, come outside, walk freely, walk about na stop. Sim some skills for some Even if it means that you go out of school, you go out with them. Or weekend, suppose you like go visit him or mama picking you can go. This is something in this town.
Commissioner Nepo said a judge will be assigned particularly for Baisu to speed up cases for prisoners. Michelle Amba, National MTV News, Mount Hagen.
A forum on youth and crime has given members of the Youth Against Corruption an insight into the juvenile justice system in Papua New Guinea. It attracted over 100 Yaka members from at least 5 secondary schools in Port Moresby, including Sogeri National High in Central Province. The workshop was jointly coordinated through Transparency International and the PNG Correctional Service.
Many youths in Papua New Guinea have limited knowledge on the juvenile and justice system in the country. Today was an interesting forum where Yaka members highlighted the factors that push young people towards committing criminal offences and looked at ways of how to minimize them.
This is something that's important to them as young people, and they do care about what is happening, and they do want to in some way contribute to the positive development of them as young people.
Sergeant Joseph Silla from the Correctional Service presented an overview of how the correctional officers manage juveniles within correctional institutions in the country. He explained that juveniles have equal rights as other offenders to access health, education and security services in the prisons. However, the CS Act allows juveniles to have their own place to eat and sleep and conduct other activities.
And the idea is to get young people to start discussing the issue of crime in the city and why young people are getting involved in crime and how we as young people can provide solutions to address this problem of crime and youth involvement in crime.
A juvenile is a person between the ages of 12 to 17. Tekla Gunga, National MTV News.
The people of Mumuni in Sohe District, Northern Province, have reconciled with the Member of Parliament, Delilah Gore. The reconciliation has opened the window for development, and villagers have pledged their support to improve community livelihood.
The reconciliation at Mumuni village in the Higaturu local level government on Thursday this week was all about forgiveness and peace, and it was expressed through traditional rituals and praise by locals from Ward 15 following a conflict 4 years ago. Sohe MP Delilah Gore said the reconciliation was a positive indicator of unity for the children now and tomorrow.
For me, thank you, it's like one proposal it's an example to the other wards, the other LLGs, all must look him or same, if a sala same community, if accept him or services local house door blow you, area blow you.
It was a joyous moment for locals, saying the reconciliation opened the pathway for the future.
Road law services by come inside. And this like reconciliation, like something. Me talk sorry lo one something, me plata sample been making.
So me like all leader man all looking this like heavy all come a bit plan. Me like talk sorry, okay, reconciliation, reconcile, and then clear him road. Me plan like looking forward to service.
Fabian Hakelitz, National MTV News.
You're watching National MTV News. Among stories after the break, commissioning of Kokoda High School, Ben Micah's first trip as Petroleum and Energy Minister, and a close call for one television reporter. Welcome back to National MTV News. Grade 8 students of Kokoda in Northern Province will no longer travel miles away from their homes to continue secondary education. This follows the commissioning of Kokoda High School. Fabian Hakelitz was in Popondetta and filed this report.
Another historical milestone and achievement for the people of Kokoda and Sohe District is the opening of 2 new double classrooms. These classrooms are part of the plan to improve education services in the district. Kokoda's new high school is a blessing, same time relief for the community, because students will not travel far from their homes for classes. On Tuesday this week, 2 new double classrooms were commissioned, costing 1.3 million kina under the District Services Improvement Program. The new high school is just the beginning of many more developments to improve the education sector. One of them is to address increasing enrollments and cater for any shifts like the curriculum and tuition fee-free policy.
As a result, you'll see that if we don't put together this gap where we need to have more high schools, these students will just to graduate and we will have no space to place them. And so it's really it's a paramount topic that every member of parliament should address in every district.
Despite many challenges, the 2 new double classrooms brought joy to communities, and they praised their MP for investing in SOE's future.
I am I'm more than happy to have at this time having such a service as education service like having the Kokoda High School here come right to our doorstep.
Part of SOE District's plan is to improve education services in the district, and one of them is to build a high secondary and technical school in a local level government. In Kokoda, Fabian Hakelitz, National MTV News.
The Education Department will review the examination system used by schools in the country. Acting Education Secretary Dr. Uke Kombra echoed the minister's announcement early this week for a review. It is a first of its kind in over 40 years. Last year, the Education Department attracted a lot of negative criticism over allegations of cheating.
The independent team comprises of former Education Department professionals who will make recommendations to improve examination processes. Though exams of grades 8 and 10 have been phased out in the education system starting this year, Education Acting Secretary Dr. Uke Kombra says it will still remain in school syllabuses as a means of identifying students' academic qualities.
But there has been criticisms and there have been allegations of cheating in the last few years. So the minister is now appointed. Dr. Chinambari was a former Secretary for Education, plus also Mr. Peter Baki, with other prominent people to independently review the examination system. So,
over 40 years, the Education Department has used examination processes to identify the quality of its services. But in recent times, the Education Department gradually removed levels of exams following changes in education policies.
Examination, as we know, in Papua New Guinea is very important for every child that goes through the school system, because it's a system that is there to ensure that we have the quality of our education is tested, to ensure which students are doing well, which schools are not doing well or doing well, and which provinces are doing well, and so on. So it's a quality assurance process.
The reintroduced standard-based curriculum will not include assessments on grades 8 and 10 exams, but aims to identify the quality of the education system. Colin Barilai, National MTV News, Lae.
Newly appointed Petroleum and Energy Minister Ben Maika is on his first overseas trip as head of the ministry. Minister Maika is travelling to Japan to discuss the establishment of downstream processing industries in Papua New Guinea. He will also visit Singapore for the National Liquefied Gas Conference next week. He discussed his trip to reporters at the airport before leaving.
I'm going to tell Japanese companies who have expressed interest to establish downstream processing industries in Papua New Guinea using our domestic gas, that there is enough gas in our country for both export and domestic processing, for requirements for power and also for other value-added products such as methanol and fertilizer and other things. From Japan, I am traveling to Singapore to attend the LNG conference, which is starting from the 14th to the 16th next week.
Turning overseas now, and a TV news reporter in California in America is thankful to be alive after a close call on air during a live broadcast. In television, it's called Live Hits.
Reporting can present dangers, whether from a tear gas canister or flying debris.
Get back! This is all coming apart!
But what could happen in the parking lot of a Fremont, California 7-Eleven while reporting on a train derailment?
And obviously it was a chaotic and confusing situation for...
No one was hurt, but you can't blame KTVU's Alex Savage for his reaction.
My heart hasn't stopped racing.
Since his back was to the traffic, Alex credits his cameraman for yelling, "Get out of the way!" before diving to safety.
This is the man. That's Chip Vaughn. Always has my back.
Turns out the elderly woman driving the white car turned right on red into the path of another car, got hit, then police say stepped on the gas instead of the brake.
She missed me by about this much.
Police took her license.
Every time I see that video, it freaks me out.
This is the kind of thing that usually happens to police, not reporters, when officers are stopped on the side of the road. Everyone reacts differently to a close call. For instance, the cameraman's wife.
She said, "Good, you'll be able to walk the dog when you get home."
No. In the business, this is known as a live hit, but Alex could have ended up dead from this hit.
I just would like to thank Chip for... Thanks, buddy.
No,
you're all right.
Yeah.
You're all right. Thanks.
No,
it's scary.
You're watching National MTV News. Trukai Sports is up next. We'll show you highlights of the NSL match between Hekari United and the Lae City Dwellers. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with the NSL, and Lae City Dwellers got a taste of their own medicine when they were kept scoreless in this afternoon's NSL match against Hekari United. On Tuesday, the Dwellers thumped PKA Rapatona 5-0 in Lae. Today, it was Hekari who kicked in 5 goals to Lae City Dwellers 0 at the Bissini grounds in Port Moresby. Here are the highlights.
Port Moresby as Korako Paiga is on side, and Tommy Sammy sprinting in as well. The cross comes. And Tommy Sammy finishes off. Tommy Sammy. Mansale. He's onside. Koraku Paiga is there. Lays it back in. Upaiga back to Tommy Sammy. And a good through ball for Urawama. He's onside. Tutisama Tenito on the left hand side. It might be 3 goals to 0. And at the edge of the box. Passes instead. Koraku Paiga is onside. 2 players behind him. Tommy Sammy. Tommy Sammy takes it. Tommy Sammy scores. Passes it. Koraku Paiga. Koraku Paiga with the easiest of goals. Hekari FC goal number 5. And the 5th one going to that man there, the number 19, Koraku Paiga.
To softball now, and the Port Moresby women's softball competition is in full swing this season, 2 weeks before the national championships. Showcased at the Bissini Diamonds today were the women's games between Bears and Yokomo, Bears and Chibu, and Wolves and Wantoks.
Among those games played today at the Bissini Diamonds was that between the Wolves and the Wantoks, which ended in favor of the Wolves with an impressive 10 points to 8 win. Also a standout today was the exciting encounter between the Bears and Cebu, where Bears proved to be the stronger team. In other results, Bears beat Yokomo in both divisions. This weekend's men's games will be played tomorrow. Jaylee Sapias, National MTV Sports.
To Rugby League, and former PNG Hunters and Kumul's captain Israel Eliab is currently waiting for a chance to make his debut for English super club London Broncos. The 25-year-old signed with the Broncos last September but waited a long 4 months before his visa application was finally processed. Following this, Eliab flew to Britain 3 weeks ago but sustained a hamstring strain in an early training session. Eliab is still awaiting his first London Broncos appearance. And a group of families have been forced from their homes in Rio de Janeiro just a few months before the Olympics. Many said they were pressured into a government buyout, but others are resisting.
A surprise operation that started at 6 a.m., protected by dozens of police, and left Luis Claudio Silva salvaging what he could. Today, my house was demolished, he says. I built it brick by brick and spent 25 years of my life right there. Now, little is left of Villa Autódromo, once a quiet favela that acquired a powerful neighbor. Just the week before, Silva let us into his home with a surprise upstairs.
This is literally one of the last houses left standing. What's unbelievable is that right over here, that's the Olympic Park, still under construction. That stretch of dirt used to be a line of houses.
The first evacuations started in 2013. About a third of the 800 families were told their homes had to go to make way for the Olympic Park, including Silva's. Many more families agreed to trade their homes for cash or new housing. Others clashed when police came to evict them last June, images caught on amateur video. When we talked to residents last year, they said they felt like they were being squeezed out as the rubble built up around them. They're using pressure, one resident told us, going door to door, telling us that we're going to lose everything if we don't accept their offer. According to Rio Mayor Eduardo Paes, residents asked to leave. At a press conference this week, he finally presented a housing project for the handful of families still left, to be built on the same site. It's got about 30 houses and 2 schools, he says, and insists the whole thing will be completed by the time the Olympic Games kick off in 5 months' time. A bitter pill for some who left. A glimmer of hope for the families still resisting, flying Brazilian flags in defiance. But mistrust runs deep, and only seeing will be believing.
And that ends Trukai Sports for today. We'll have for you the weather details when we come back.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
Taking a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours, and in the southern region, rain and thunderstorms expected in Port Moresby, Daru, Kerma, Alotau and Popondetta. To the Momasa region, showers expected in Lae, Wau and Vanimo, a few showers in Madang and Wewak. To the New Guinea Islands region, some showers expected in Lorengau, a chance of showers in Kavieng, and thundery showers expected in Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka. And in the Highlands region, rain and fog with some storms expected in Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg over the next 24 hours. And that's the way it is this Saturday, the 12th of March 2016. From the EMTV News team, I'm Mary Batulo. Pleasant viewing. Good night.